Tonight, breaking down a ballooning deficit in the Prime Minister's first budget. Digging into spending priorities.
Every Canadian should feel that there's something for them.
I think if you're the average Canadian, you're looking at this budget, you're going to say, well, it doesn't change my life very much.
Will it pass a vote to avoid an early election?
We Conservatives cannot support this costly Liberal budget.
And the Conservative MP who is crossing the floor to join the Liberals. Plus, the controversial gravestone in a Quebec cemetery connected to organized crime. And the CTV cameraman opening up about his silent struggle.
I love my job. Like, I love telling stories. I love telling people stories, and I wonder, like, what else would I do? Like, what else would I do?
How a serendipitous encounter with a surgeon gave him a second shot.
I put the mic and told her, and she immediately looked at me and said,
I can fix that.
CTV National News with Omar Sachedina, reporting tonight from Ottawa.
Good evening from Parliament Hill tonight, where behind me in the House of Commons, Mark Carney's government delivered its first budget, a major spending plan that comes with a big deficit, and all of it happening on the same day. A Conservative MP joined the Liberals. We have extensive coverage tonight, beginning with CTV senior political correspondent Michael Couture.
Every Canadian should feel that there's something for them.
Borrowing the election campaign slogan, Mark Carney's government is hoping to build a strong country by stimulating the economy with billions in spending. Over the next 5 years, the Liberals are promising $141 billion in new measures, which the government plans to offset with $51.2 billion in savings. So how deep is the budget going into the red? Well, Canada's deficit for this fiscal year is $78.3 billion. It's projected to shrink slightly, hitting $56.6 billion in 4 years. The finance minister blamed part of it on the trade dispute with the U.S. and support measures for affected industries.
I think Canadians would understand 75% of it is really the headwind that we have faced, but Canada is not unique in that. The world has faced it, and you see it with global growth, which has been readjusted lower.
But for the first time, operational and capital spending has been separated in this budget. The document shows the operational side will hit a surplus in 3 years. But some experts warn that change could lead to some creative accounting.
It is subject to a little bit of abuse. I would rather see a much narrower definition of capital investment than has been employed in this particular budget.
One of the biggest spends is $81.8 billion over 5 years on national defense, which will get Canada to its NATO commitment of 2%. Now, the government has also earmarked $51 billion over the next decade for new infrastructure projects in something called the Build Communities Strong Fund. There's $1.7 billion for a new strategy to attract international talent. And the Build Canada Homes program is getting $13 billion over 5 years, including $2.8 billion just for Indigenous housing. Still, the Conservatives and Bloc Québécois are already giving it a thumbs down.
On behalf of all the Canadians who can no longer afford to eat, heat, or house themselves because of Liberal inflation, we Conservatives cannot support this costly Liberal budget.
The Green Party and NDP aren't shutting the door yet.
There's positive and negatives in this budget, and we're going to take a comprehensive look and weigh it out in the aggregate.
Late today, Nova Scotia MP Chris D'Entremont announced he is crossing the floor from the Conservatives to the Liberals. In a statement, the Tories criticized D'Entremont for supporting their platform in April, but backing the Liberals just 7 months later. Either way, the government now needs only 2 more votes to pass its budget. Omar.
All right, Mike, thank you. A big focus of the budget is not just on spending, but also cuts. CTV's Abigail Beeman on where they'll be coming from and the impact.
In 1995, he presented his budget.
The 1995 Liberal budget is remembered for its cuts. No accident, today's finance minister referenced it, introducing his new plan.
$60 billion in saving over 5 years.
As expected, public service cuts topped the list.
In a word, it's bad. It's bad for Canadians.
The government plans to cut 16,000 jobs and hopes incentivizing early retirement, attrition, and voluntary leaves will shed another 12,000 for a total of 28,000 jobs by 2028-29.
When Mark Carney and the Liberals ran, they talked about caps, not cuts. What happened to that? What happened to caps, not cuts? We are now seeing cuts, so they're walking that back.
But no word on how much money the moves will save overall.
No money is assigned to it, so that's a little bit vague and somewhat disappointing.
The budget includes a breakdown of a further $22 billion in savings, including other cuts over 4 years. $5.8 billion saved by aligning RCMP disability benefits with the Consumer Price Index. A whopping $4.4 billion by dropping the price the government reimburses for medical cannabis benefits for RCMP and veterans from $8.50 to $6 a gram. $2.7 billion in foreign aid cuts, $1.1 billion in savings to get rid of aging defense fleets, and chopping the Trudeau-era $2 billion tree planting program, not even half planted, will save $0.2 billion.
It's even less than what we thought based on what the government had said before.
Going back to the Prime Minister's language of sacrifice and austerity, experts tell CTV News this budget does not cut as much as some had predicted, but say it is more of an austerity budget than we've seen in a few years. Abigail Beeman, CTV News, Ottawa.
And joining us now is CTV's chief political correspondent, Vassy Kapelos. Vassy, are Canadians going to feel as though they're materially better off after today's budget, as though life is more affordable for them?
I think it's a key question in answering whether or not ultimately this budget is successful for the government. And I'm not seeing anything in the document that necessarily changes things for someone tomorrow versus 2 days ago. There is a lot in there to materially impact our lives in the medium to long term, if it all comes to fruition. But unlike the previous government, there isn't that nugget. You know, they have other tax cuts that they'd already announced. That nugget that you can say, hey, tomorrow something's $200 cheaper. That's missing.
The House is on a break week next week. We know the Liberals are in a minority government situation, which means that they need the support of a party other than their own for this budget to pass. Will it pass?
Yeah, look, if I had to bet at this juncture, I would say yes, it would. Things can obviously change, and I've been wrong before, but my gut tells me, based on what we've heard from different opposition parties, that in particular where the NDP is concerned, the leader of that party, the interim leader, Don Davies, has left the door wide open to one of two things, either abstaining or actually supporting the budget. Either of those things, it sounds like, is available as an option to the NDP. Then you've got that conservative that left the Conservatives to sit maybe as an independent on budget day. That tells me he might also support the budget. So likely to pass, though not 100%.
All right, I know you'll be watching closely. Vassy, thank you so much. The business sector keeping a keen eye on today's budget and measures to help with the pain of the trade war. CTV's Adrian Gabriel checks in with one struggling company to see how the budget is impacting them.
U.S. tariffs have left a hole in the margins Canada's steel sector depend on.
The prices of material are just gone through the roof. Profit margins are low.
Profits have been pushed downhill. Prime Steel and Erecting in Stouffville, Ontario, has been in Dario Barbieri's family for 3 generations.
I do have big plans. It's kind of scary to know if I can get there.
The current U.S. tariff on Canadian steel sits at 50%. Previous reciprocal tariffs have also driven up the cost for Canadian companies. As a result, the Canada Strong budget includes a $1 billion strategic innovation fund for the steel industry. The government is also launching a new Buy Canadian mandate for federal projects.
With everything that's been going on, I feel like the smaller guys like us need a little bit of help.
Ottawa is also offering an olive branch to the forestry and softwood lumber sectors, including $700 million in guaranteed loans over 2 years to maintain and restructure operations. Multiple sectors, including Canada's auto parts manufacturing, will receive tax breaks through a multi-year plan.
The government has shown an empathy for industrial Canada, saying, we know you're being targeted by the White House. If you're going to pivot, we'll partner with you. But the challenge is you've got to do it. It's a short-term period.
Back inside Barbieri's shop, the budget is welcome news. What it doesn't provide is much-needed economic predictability for a sector that depends on price stability.
The Buy Canadian program will have a new procurement policy, so small to medium-sized businesses like this steel fabrication plant have access to bid on federal infrastructure projects. Omar.
All right, Adrian. CTV's Adrian Gobriel in Stouffville, Ontario tonight. And for more, let's get to CTV's chief financial correspondent, Amanda Lang. Amanda, Mark Carney has talked a lot about catalyzing investment, but these measures take time. And the fact is that companies are taking their business elsewhere because Donald Trump has created uncertainty about investing here in Canada. What is the budget doing to address that massive challenge in the short term?
Omar, the centerpiece of that effort is what they're calling their productivity and competitiveness agenda. It's about $110 billion in spending, but at its heart, it's designed to instill confidence in businesses that will want to invest in Canada. So reverse that trend that you're describing of businesses being worried about investing here. Will it work? It might. It's pretty aggressive, and they're pretty good tax credits or incentives to get them to do so. Will it happen right away? It could happen reasonably quickly, but it's definitely appealing to the business community in a way that we haven't seen in recent budgets. And I guess we all hope it works because they expect it to generate an awful lot of output for our economy. Omar?
All right, Amanda, thank you. Turning to other news now, and the controversy surrounding a large tombstone at a Montreal cemetery, one bearing the logo of the Hells Angels. CTV's Quebec Bureau Chief Geneviève Beauchemin finds out how the Catholic Diocese is tackling the situation.
Among rows of tombstones in this 150-year-old cemetery lies the engraved winged skull of the Hells Angels, a monument and a Catholic resting place bearing the trademark of a violent biker gang that has many in the town of Saint-Basile-le-Grand talking.
I believe they got rights to take a place on that terrain, but the image that is being shown is not proper, I would say.
Controversy began to swirl after news broke that the gravestone that still bears no deceased's name was installed last week. The Hells Angels' presence in town dates back decades. A chapter of the gang set up a bunker here. That was seized and torn down in 2006 in the wake of the bloody biker war over the control of the drug trade in Quebec. Today, the province's public security minister says he thought of the families of innocent victims caught in the crossfire.
Imagine, for instance, you get this image in a cemetery. This is quite a confrontation, so I'm not happy to see that.
Facing a barrage of questions, the diocese issued a statement saying it too was scandalized that after an investigation it found that there were failures in the process at the parish and that the monument would be removed. A quick search turned up images of a similar gravestone in another Quebec town, but many in Saint-Basile-le-Grand say those buried could not lie in peace here. It's not clear exactly when the monument may be removed and what will be in its place. Geneviève Beauchemin, CTV News, Saint-Basile-le-Grand, Quebec.
And breaking news tonight, New York City has elected its youngest mayor in more than a century. 34-year-old Zoran Mamdani also becomes the city's first Muslim mayor, defeating former Governor Andrew Cuomo, who ran as an independent, and Curtis Sliwa, the Republican. Among his goals, Mamdani wants to freeze rent or rent-stabilized units, enact universal childcare, and start a free bus program. On Canada's east coast, weather is the big concern tonight. As CTV's Garrett Berry shows us, a powerful weather bomb is delivering frightening conditions in Newfoundland.
Facing hours of pounding surf and wicked winds, fear is growing tonight on the southern portion of Newfoundland's Avalon Peninsula. This breakwater in the town of Trepassey is being tested once again. It has already been damaged in previous storms, and some residents, fearing another washout would leave them stranded, have already left the area. The town's mayor is urging others to stay away.
Well, if the road gives way and we lose our infrastructure, we are left with nothing on the lower coast. We're in the dark, we have no water, so it's going to be an emergency situation.
Wind gusts have reached over 100 kilometers an hour in some parts of the province, and there won't be relief anytime soon. This weather bomb won't fully leave the province until Friday morning. Flooding is a risk, not only in Trepassey, but in other parts of the province as well. In St. John's, flying debris shut down a road near Memorial University, and winds practically shut down the St. John's airport. It's brought a mix of everything across this province so far. Rain here in St. John's, snow in western parts of the province and in Labrador, and we're not clear of it yet. We're not expected to see sunshine for another couple of days. Omar.
All right, Garrett, stay safe. Thank you. Coming up.
It takes a lot out of you. So not only are you're shaking, but your mind's working 24/7.
A cameraman's challenging life through his own lens and the chance meeting that changed his fate. We are bringing you a story tonight about one of our own, an award-winning CTV cameraman who for years has battled a condition that he hasn't publicly talked about until now. Kirk Neff suffers from essential tremors, a neurological condition that causes uncontrollable shaking in his hands. And now the man behind the lens is getting in front of it to tell his story about how he found new hope. You wouldn't know it by looking at him, but for years, Kirk Neff's been silently suffering. He's an award-winning cinematographer who has traveled the world. We've worked together for more than a decade, from interviewing a prime minister, to a prince, to capturing the bounty of the Canadian Arctic. In any of those scenarios, are you thinking, gosh, if my hand starts shaking so much, I'm going to miss the shot?
Absolutely, I think about it all the time. I worry that I'm going to ruin the shot.
The expectations are high, so he always needs to perform at his peak. But for years, he's battled a neurological condition called essential tremors. The uncontrollable shaking starts when he reaches for an object or engages in a fine motor skill like writing. That's different from Parkinson's patients who shake even in resting position.
You know the deal on this.
So you can only imagine what that's like for a man who relies on his hands for his life's work.
Just watch my shakes hurt.
Even the simple act of putting on a microphone turns into an exhausting and demoralizing battle. So does eating. When did you first discover that you had this?
When I was 16 years old, I noticed that I had these little shakes. I didn't really know what it was, but I started taking pills and they gave me stuff for it and it never really worked. It takes a lot out of you. So not only are you you're shaking, but your mind's working 24/7. And not only everything you're doing, but working on trying to keep your hands straight.
He's found a way to push through, earning praise and recognition along the way. But it's the passion that keeps him going.
I love my job. I love telling stories. I love telling people stories, and I wonder, what else would I do? What else would I do? I have to adjust with certain things.
To keep doing it, he's built his own kit and tweaked it over the years. Rigs and gimbals that help keep his shots steady.
Now the handles take more of the brunt of my shakes, so I can either put my hand out, so I take the pressure off, or I can make sure that I'm okay.
Morning routines are exercises in physical and mental gymnastics.
There'll be a point where I'm losing it and my hand's shaking so much, I'll be like, honey, you gotta take it. And by that time, everything's all over the place.
But a chance meeting with a neurosurgeon while Kirk was on an assignment gave him the hope he'd given up on.
I put the mic and told her, and she immediately looked at me and said,
I can fix that.
This is Dr. Mojgan Hodai, a world-renowned neurosurgeon and scientist at Toronto Western Hospital.
And we reviewed the options for surgical treatment of patients that have essential tremor.
Brain surgery. And in a matter of hours, we'll follow him to the operating room for a procedure.
We're rooting for you, we're thinking of you. Yeah, and I can't wait to see the results.
That comes with a chance that he will be able to reclaim his life. And in part 2 tomorrow, we go inside the operating room for the 5-hour brain surgery that could change everything. Still ahead, how prospective home buyers are feeling about what's in today's federal budget for them. Leading up to today's budget, we introduced you to a young couple from Halifax worried they would never be able to afford a home. CTV's Paul Hollingsworth caught up with them to gauge their reaction to the billions earmarked for affordable housing.
Liz and Miles Landry watched coverage of the federal budget looking for any good news surrounding affordable housing.
I wanted to see good non-market solutions.
Married for less than a year, the Landrys both work full-time and rent an apartment in Halifax. They say their shared dream is to own their own home. Liz Landry says budget details like $25 billion in funding for new home building projects plus an additional $7 billion for the Build Canada Homes plan sound like positive steps, but she wants more details.
Is it going to be in grants? Is it going to be in loans? What does repay look like on those loans?
She's also disappointed over the lack of funding for seniors housing.
As housing gets more unaffordable, they lack a place to downsize too.
As a couple, they are trying to determine if this new budget moves them closer to one day owning a home.
I don't know. I still feel like I need to see more. I need to, take a closer look at the budget.
Billions of dollars could lead to a boost in affordable housing, but when would that happen? The Landrys are in their 30s. They want to be homeowners soon and not wait until middle age. Paul Hollingsworth, CTV News, Halifax.
Still ahead, connecting with a piece of Canada's past. The mission to rebuild a very particular kind of canoe. Before we go tonight, we want to take you to a special project in Fredericton that's bringing a piece of Canada's past back to life. CTV's Sarah Plowman explains the inspiration behind it.
Rivers were once the highways, canoes the vehicles, built of birch bark, cedar, and ash trees.
They call us the Wolustogawig. We are the people of the river.
Rodney Bear's ancestors built these vessels, but he never had until now.
For me, it's like revitalization of culture.
Under One Sky Friendship Center is behind the project. Recruited artist Shane Purley-Dutcher to lead.
I don't call myself a master builder. I'm still learning myself, but like I said, I built 6 canoes, so I know enough about the process to get through to the final step.
In May, they went to the forest to gather materials, climbing nearly 10 meters up a birch tree to shave off the bark for the base. They cut a cedar tree for the planks, ash for the thwarts, and dug up spruce roots for the lashing.
Bring it back and boil it, take off the bark, split it.
This canoe has been their vehicle to learn more about Wolastoqey culture, history, and identity.
This is like a physical language and a spiritual one too, but it's like you're working with your hands, you're working with the elements. And as you're working with these elements, you're starting to see like why they may have done things a certain way.
It's something that we need to continue to do to pass down to our future generation of students and people that want to learn the tradition to keep this alive.
On Wednesday, the 15-foot canoe will launch and touch water, but it's already touched these builders.
The more I can soak up, the more I can teach, so that our culture isn't lost.
Learning a skill that dates back generations to ensure it's maintained for the future. Sarah Plowman, CTV News, Fredericton.
That's a snapshot of this Tuesday from Ottawa. For all of us at CTV National News, thank you for watching. Good night, and see you tomorrow.